Hi, welcome to question 8 of the 2023 paper 1 for the Leave It Cert ordinary level. If you want to copy the notes I'm working off, just send an email to shanetroy@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. So this question here, I've jumped on. Okay, it's area of volume, I guess. And it says a rectangular garden, 50 meters by 30. So that's that bigger shape here, 50 meters all the way along, and then 30 meters up high. Contains an irregularly shaped pond of length 18 meters. Okay, so that's the pond here, as shown on the diagram. And they've divided into a number of divisions. So this looks like the Simpson's rule. It says find the area of the whole garden, that is the total area of the rectangle. A formula you're not actually given is the formula of a rectangle. Okay, length times 10 times the width. Now, the width is 30 and the length is 50. So it's 50 times 30, which in your calculator should show you that 5 threes is 15, 2 zeros. It's 1500. Now, the units were in meters, but because it's meters times meters, okay, that's meters squared. That's it. Okay, so that's cool. Then the next one says the width of the pond is measured at intervals of 3 meters. Okay, now I've taken a screen grab of the last image, starting at the right hand side. So it's 3 meters here, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Use the trapezoidal rule and the measurements in the diagram now above, but I'm just put it below, to work out an estimate. And that's the important thing with the trapezoidal rule or the Simpsons rule, that they're estimates of the area. Okay, and Simpsons is a little bit better in terms of estimates. So this is the formula for the trapezoidal rule. Now it's h over 2. Okay, Simpson's rule is h over 3, which is what makes it slightly more accurate, or part of the reasoning. There's a formula in the math tables. It's a little bit trickier. I prefer just first. So the first reading here is 0. Okay. Then last. Now the last there is 2. Okay. And then plus 2 times everything else added together, or the sum of everything else. So the first, or the h is 3, that's the interval. The first is 0, the last is 2. So I slot them in. The h, I put the 3 in. The first, I put the 0 in. And again, the first is just this length here. Now, there is no length because it starts off. The last, okay, you see here, this little line here. And then twice, so 2 brackets, 2 times. Everything else added together. So the 10, the 14, the 12, the 10, and lastly the 8. Now that whole thing can go through the calculator, and just make sure you show this calculation. So even if you input something wrong in the calculator, you'll still do really well. You get the 4 out of 5, okay? But put through the calculator, make sure the answer you get makes sense. Like if the area, for example, is bigger than the area of the garden, like how can the pond be bigger than the garden, okay? Now that would have to be much bigger, but I got an answer of 165 meters squared because again, it's an area, and feels perfectly fine. Actually, maybe arguably a little bit big, but it does point out that it's not to scale. Okay, but still, there's no red flags. It passes the smell test. Now, part C says, and it's worth 5 marks. Suggest a way by which the trapezoidal rule could be used with different measurements to get a potentially more accurate estimate of the pond. Well, if I fly back, look, the most obvious thing is if I have more of these intervals, this h value is shorter. The more splits I have, the better my estimate. And that's ultimately what the trapezoidal rule does. It splits the shape into smaller pieces and then finds out the area of each trapezoid. Okay, so it's the more of them you have, the less this curvature matters. So if I can try to draw a straight line here, I can't because I'm terrible at drawing. Okay, that's your trapezoid. So you find the area of that, and then the next trapezoid, the next trapezoid. The more breaks you have, okay, so if I split that in half, I could draw a straight line for the life of me, I can't. You'd have like a more accurate measurement. So the shorter the interval, the more of them there will be, which leads to a more accurate estimate, or whichever way you want to say that. Now, part D says, apart from the pond, the rest of the rectangular garden is covered in grass. The actual area of the pond is 172, so we were off by like cut 7. All of the grass in the garden needs to be resown. The cost is 255 equals 1 meter squared. Okay, so 2 meters squared is twice that. 3 is 3 times that. It says work out the cost of resowing the grass. Give your answer correct to the nearest €10. So look, I know the 1 meter squared is this, but like how big is the garden minus the pond? And that's the trick. The area of the grass is equal to the area of the garden, which was the 1500 from part A, I guess. Take away the area of the pond. Now they've just told you it's 172. Now, if your answer from the previous one was way different than 172, just go back and check your calculation. But take away the 172. Now that gave me a figure of 1328. And like we said, 1 meter squared is equal to 255. So 2 meters squared is twice that. 1,328 meters squared is 1,328 times both sides. Okay, that gives me an answer of 3386.4 euro. Now the question does say round to the nearest 10. Okay, so this is the units is what matters. Okay, even though it's not directly saying it. Okay, 6 is greater than 5, so the number before it rounds up by 1 to 3390 euro. And that's it. A nice chunk of marks for a fairly easy question if you get the handle on it. Lots of words, take your time, underline it, draw the image if you need to, do your problem solving, and the strategy should be there. Now, part E says some materials were imported from England by the gardener for resowing the grass. The cost of the material was £840. This included an import duty of 16.9. So the 840 is equal to the cost plus 16.9% of the cost. Okay. Now let's see. Give your answer correct to the nearest penny. So to 2 decimal places. Now, if I call the cost X, so 840 is equal to X plus 16.9% of X. I'm just replacing the word cost with X. Now, on the next page, I have it done out, and that's kind of where we've gotten to. But just to point out here that 16.9% is the same thing as 16.9 divided by 100. That's what percent means. And then if you change that to a decimal, just calculator, you get 0.169. So the cost is X. So the 840 is equal to the cost plus 16.9% of the cost, okay, which is 16.9 times X, which you could express as 0.169 times X. Now, once I've done that and realized that fact, and that is the core of this question, these two numbers are addable. They're both x's the same type. So 1x plus 0.169x is the same thing as 1.169x. And you're flying. This is an equation of one unknown. We can solve an equation of one unknown using our algebra. To get rid of this number, 1.169, I can divide it by itself. They will cancel. If I do it to one side, I have to do the same thing to everything on the far side. Once I put that calculation through the calculator, I should get 718.562. Now, the 0.002 here is less than a penny. It's 1/5 of a penny. That doesn't matter because they're asking us to the nearest penny. So 2 is less than 5. The number prior to it stays the same. So you end up at 718.56. And that's the answer. So the tricky question, if you get the logic here at the beginning, the rest is fairly handy, but getting that logic is not always as easy as it sounds. Okay. Now, the gardener paid the 840 in euro. The exchange rate, love these questions. Okay, €1, let me write that down. €1 is equal to 0.8547 pounds. Now, I'm not even going to worry about their asking, just want to show this. If I want to find out what £1 is equal to, well, the simplest way would be to divide the 0.8547 by itself. Anything divided by itself will turn into 1. Now, if I do that on one side, I have to do it on the far side. So this might look weird, okay, but 1 divided by 0.8547 is a number. Now I could convert it, but it's going to leave it in that form. The calculator can handle it. So I know that £1 is equal to this, and I know that €1 is equal to this. So no matter what they ask me, well, assuming I should have read the question, but then I should be able to do the conversion. Now, they also say he also paid a fee of 2.5% of the 840 as a commission. Work out how much he paid in total in euro, correct to the nearest cent. Okay, so he paid 840 in pounds. Okay, so you could work out what 2.5% of that is. In fact, let me just go to the answer. Okay, so €1 is equal to 0.8547. Okay, so actually I did the conversion. So £1 is equal to 1 over whatever. And then I go, well, how much is 840? So if £1 is equal to this, well, 840 is 840 times that. Okay, so the logical way to do it is to multiply both sides by 840. Okay, 1 by 840 is 840. That's pretty straightforward. On the other side, the 840 multiplies by the top, okay, and you end up with this number, which again is a number. It just isn't like obvious what it is. Run that through the calculator and I get €982.8, which would strike as the answer, but okay, he paid 2.5% extra. So you could work out 2.5 of 982.8 and then add it back on, or I could use the 102%. And 102.5% contains 100, okay, plus the 2.5. So multiplying by 102.5% includes the 982.8 and a little bit extra, okay. And I came up with a number of €1,007.37. Correct to the nearest cent. That looks fine. Okay. Right, that's part F, and that's the end of question 8. Okay, long old question, tricky, but if you have decent algebra and you're consistent and you can work out the few problem solving things, but always remember that, like, even for that last question, any work of merit in trying to deal with the exchange gets you the 4 marks. Okay. So if you want to copy the notes I'm working off, send me an email to shanetroy@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. And see you on question 9.